My dear brothers and sisters, as we reflect these words, there is something that we need to remember. Sometimes God permits certain things in our life which we may not be so happy with. For example, I have seen people saying, Father, I'm praying so much, but every day one problem or another is coming after me. Some people say, Father, I'm always surrendering myself to God, but always there is somebody in the family is giving me irritation, disturbance. Somebody in the community will be giving me headache. Somebody in the society will be always gossiping, hurting me, wounding me. Why God is not removing all these unnecessary things from my life? Why God is not removing these evils or enemies from my life? I'm praying so much. I'm surrendering myself so much, and I'm consecrating myself and every day going to the church and praying so much, but nothing seems to be happening. God is not helping me. This is a very frequent comment that I have heard from many people. Let's listen to this word of God. That is Judges chapter 3 verse 1 onwards. You know, Israel, when God established the country Israel, God removed all the enemies except some of them. God kept some of them, allowed them to stay back. Some enemies were left behind, so that these enemies will always taunt Israelites. They will go on irritating, disturbing, so that the Israel will be equipped, or Israel will be strengthened, Israel will be trained properly to face this enemy. We read like this: now these are the nations that the Lord left to test all those in Israel who had no experience of any war in Canaan. It was only that successive generations of Israelites might know war, to teach those who had no experience of it before. Verse 3. The 5 lords of Philistines and all the Canaanites and the Sidonians and the Hivites who lived on Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon as far as Lebo Hamath, they were for the testing of Israel, to know whether Israel would obey the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their ancestors by Moses. My dear brothers and sisters, this is what the word of God says. God kept some enemies to irritate them every time, so that the Israelites will be always ready to face the enemy, ready to face every temptation, ready for any war and any battle. So, my dear brothers and sisters, God permits suffering and struggles and irritations from all the corners in your life. God may remove many problems, but he will allow some problems to be there, so that we will be always ready to face the temptation, ready for any battle, spiritual battle. That is our spiritual life will be like that. I used to ask, after I became a priest, and after being in this last 15 years of my priestly ministry, one thing I always used to pray: Lord, give me at least 1 month without much stress and tension and confusion and struggles, and I want to sit in front of you and read the word of God, reflect about the word of God, and pray peacefully. And this prayer is yet to be fulfilled. And I've noticed, especially these days when I'm doing more ministries, and the more disturbance and stress and confusion, it can be the evil attack from evil forces in the form of human being, and also in the form of spiritual powers, and also it can be socio-political, legal issues. It could be anything, but something or the other will be always there. I always remember, every time when I come to the blessed for the live streaming in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and most of the time, almost all the time, just after some disturbance or some kind of struggles I go through. But at the same time, when we stand in the presence of God, there is a deep secret peace and joy in the heart. In spite of all the struggles that we face physically, emotionally, intellectually, there is something spiritually we experience. That is what we call the joy. My dear brothers and sisters, why God permits this? I know the answer, but at the same time, I have also a prayer. Lord, give me some time. So this is something that we all need to go through and we all face in our daily life, because God is making us equipped, making us ready for any battle, anytime. And God is reminding us, this world is only temporary. There is a resting in peace. There is a time where we will rest. We will rest with Him. Though many people do not like this RIP, they always expect return if possible. But that is the moment, rest in peace, and that the Lord will give. Until then, we have to face these battles every day in our everyday life. Even Israel, all throughout their life, the Lord, though there is lots of promises to the Israel, but they never experienced that peace, the so-called peace of the world. But they experienced peace in their heart. Even though they were attacked by evil enemies all the time, they experienced peace and joy in their heart. That's why we have so many saints from Israel. And now, my dear brothers and sisters, let's examine our conscience and see, are we also facing such trials in our life? Don't worry. That is part of the new Israel, the part of our life. Through all these, if you are able to experience the joy in your spirit, that is enough. And that is why when St. Paul asked, God, if possible, let this thorn be taken away. Jesus said, my grace is sufficient for you.